Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
It's time to hit the pick. Touchdown! Sports betting, fantasy football, and the latest NFL news. Featuring Loud Esmond and Christian Giordani. Bet on us to make you a better bettor. What? It's time to hit the pick.
All right, it's the Hit the Pick show. This is Loud Esmond here for you, my alter ego here on Friday nights as we talk about degenerate sports gambling. And speaking of degenerates, he's such a degenerate, he moved to Vegas.
Exactly.
Striker West joins us from Sin City. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. So speaking of being a degenerate, so, yesterday was the slowest sports day of 2025.
What are you talking about? Kenya was playing Cameroon in Pee Wee soccer.
Yeah, well, we were talking today about that Zimbabwe match, right? But,
yeah.
But no, the only professional, I say professional, but the only really thing worth betting on was that CFL game, which I won. By the way, we were texting back and forth, and I don't think you ever answered me. You were probably preoccupied with something. But that was crazy.
No, I was drinking.
Yeah, I know. That's what I meant. But I was going to win the over. And the guy fumbles the ball at the 1 yard line, goes in the end zone, other team falls on it. And the first sentence out of my mouth to my buddy, I said, I cannot believe my bad beats in football are starting in July this year. Right. But I will say, luckily, they turned the ball over right after that. And then they went in and scored a TD. So I hit the over in that game by the hook, might I add. I had over 50 and a half. It finished at 51. But I needed something else to bet on. So what did we have? We had some NBA Summer League, which actually is right down the street at UNLV where the Rebels play. And I hit a little parlay. Normally I don't do parlays, but I was just so bored. There was no sports on. So I threw $20 on a 3-teamer and I hit the CFL game. So I had a pretty good night, even though there really wasn't anything to bet on.
So I had the underdog in that CFL game to cover, and they won outright.
Right.
And the number I got, because I didn't bet it until right before the game, was 51 points.
So you pushed on that leg.
So I did a parlay.
Right.
And I ended up pushing on the one and winning the other. But then I placed a live bet and took at one point it was under 57.5.
Okay.
And so when I saw that, I said, this is going under that. And so I bet that live and it ended up making up for the leg that I pushed.
Right.
So, yeah, that worked out okay. Yeah, it is very slow sports time right now. And that's why I want to start the show. We're gonna talk some betting, and we're talking about the CFL game tonight. I'll tell you what, let's do that first. So you got the Blue Bombers tonight in the CFL. They're the home team. The Stampeders are coming to visit tonight. The Blue Bombers have been on a hot streak. They weren't highly touted coming into the season, but they're, I believe, 4-1 and have beat two of the better teams in the league their last two games out. Or is it the other way around? Okay. So now you have the Stampeders coming into town. The Stampeders crushed the Blue Bombers the last time that they played. And so it seemed kind of strange to me that the Blue Bombers were favored by like 4.5 when I looked.
Right.
Because it seemed like, the Stampeders just beat out of them last time. But the quarterback threw 2 pick sixes early in the game, and that's why it looked kind of lopsided, right?
Yeah, well, I will say this. I do have a premium play on this game, but I'll just go ahead and give it out because it's going to start soon anyway. But here's the deal, though. I got this at -3 because I release all my CFL stuff on Wednesdays for all 4 games, typically is how I do it. So the line moved from -3 all the way to -4.5. So one would say I'm on the sharp side of the bet if there is a sharp side. But I did get the best of the number. I got, 1.5 extra points in my back pocket. I'm laying 3 and looks like it's going to close at -4.5.
Now I was looking at betting this about half an hour ago, and that number was -4.5, and the over under had moved to 51.
Right.
So and then I didn't want to lay 4.5 because, I don't feel good when I see that the line has moved 1.5 in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to do that, but it was minus 222 to take the Blue Bombers on the money line. So that wasn't very juicy or interesting to me. So I ended up playing the over.
Okay.
Because both these teams can score, and it's the CFL. And, I want to see some scoring, I guess, tonight.
Yeah, the last two matchups, these last two times these teams have played, as you mentioned, Calgary, they beat Winnipeg 37-16. They beat the you-know-what out of them last time they played, and that went way over.
53.
The time before that, it was 41-37 Winnipeg. So, I mean, when these two teams hook up, it tends to be a high-scoring game.
All right, so there you are. You got the over. If you are lucky enough to find a -3 or bet it early, good for you. And then the minus 220, I just, not a good line and not a good number for me. So I'm going to stay away from that. Okay, so that's the CFL game tonight. You can get a couple more premium picks from Sniper West on the CFL this weekend over at hitthepick.com. Now, I've been going through and doing NFL futures, but before we get there, so we've been meeting with our founding group of Hit the Pick handicappers the past couple of days for some of the longer meetings we've ever had because we're getting ready for football season. We want to make sure we're putting our right foot forward. And I realized, though this is the Hit the Pick show, and I talk sports betting and I bring on guests from, we've never really talked about why we did hit the pick and what's different about it and why it matters to us. And here it is from my perspective. Before I was a handicapper, I was a sports bettor.
Right.
And as a sports bettor, I was a consumer of the product of websites and so forth that sell picks. And I was, when I lived in the Inland Empire, I went to Vegas often enough that the hotels knew me, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I had VIP privileges at the Link and a couple of other properties, mainly because a friend of mine who owned a very large janitorial company, and let's say had some extracurricular ways of making money, was a whale. He would go to Vegas and get a suite and spend a weekend, and him and his girlfriend would drop 10, 15 grand, and so he would bring me along, and I sort of got into that lifestyle on the cheap by riding his coattails. And as a consumer, you didn't know what you were getting. And there's a lot of shady characters in the gambling business and in the handicapping business. For example, there was a site that was trying to sell me, and just by happenstance, I knew somebody else who was a sports bettor who was also being sold. They had a radio show on Sunday mornings before the NFL games, and that's how we sort of heard about it. Well, he decided to go ahead and take a promotional pick from them, and I took a promotional pick from them, and we were on the same game. But guess what?
Two different picks.
Two different sides.
Right.
The same company giving out two different picks. Raiders -7, Bengals +7.
Oldest trick in the book in that industry, man.
And so what I figured out, and then I started researching this, and what I found out is there are these call centers in Pahrump, Nevada, and other places where people are calling sports gamblers, and 50% of the call center is pitching one side of the game, 50% is pitching the other side, and then the suckers that win, they hit them up as soon as they win with a follow-up and say, look, we're a lock. We always win. $500 and you can have the next month.
Yeah.
We don't know what they're doing. It's a scam.
Yeah. Well, not only that, the people that lost, right? So yeah, they call, all the people who won, and then they upsell them on a package or whatnot. But the people that lost, they call them also, and they say, hey man, tough, bad break, but we are, that was our only loss in our last 10 games. If you, come on board, we'll give you a discount. We'll only charge you $250 for the month.
Right. And people fall for it, and I feel bad. And, as much as I wouldn't say I've ever been associated with a site that I've worked for that was completely like crooked like that, but there is some bad behavior that goes on. One of the ones right now that really is offensive to me is the whole AI BS.
Yeah.
And the reason why is I have a client of my PR firm. The company tracks the space station for NASA. They programmed the lander that mapped Mars. They track all of the State Department's assets in real time. Okay, this is the level of data that this company does. And I went to the owner of that company 12, 15 years ago. And I said, I love betting on the NFL. If you're so good at numbers, because he used to always tell me about how superior computer modeling is to anything a human can do and blah, 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 blah. This is years ago because they were on the cusp of computer learning, it was called at the time, not AI, which it's the term for the same thing that they were doing back then. So I challenged him. I said, hey, figure out the outcome of NFL games. If you can do that, then you and I can write a check. Every degenerate sports gambler in the world will beat the path to our door. Let's start with the NFL. Well, guess what? They weren't very good at it. Because here's the problem. Computers can analyze numbers, but people make this mistake and they think, oh, well, if the computer's doing it, there's no bias. No. A human being has to program the computer and tell the computer, is offense worth more or is defense worth more?
Sure.
How much is home field advantage worth? Just like the Madden ratings, they're subjective. Yeah. Somebody decides Derrick Henry's a 99. This running back's an 85. There's no automatic standard for that. It's subjective. So the minute somebody programs the computer to think, you've interjected bias. So you're getting the same human problem, garbage in, garbage out, that you do otherwise. And AI can't see motivation. It can't see lingering injury. It can't see the coach just got fired. It can't see the quarterback just got arrested for a DUI yesterday.
Weather's a big one too.
Yeah. So all of that. I'm kind of offended right now with the idea that these sites are selling the thought that AI is infallible and our AI knows everything. And even worse, some of these sites are creating fake people. They're getting rid of real human handicappers and they're creating fake people who are AI bots. And that's BS. Yeah. And so the industry needs to be a little bit policed on this, I think. But we're different, right, Wes?
100%. Honesty, integrity, and transparency. That is what Hit the Pick stands for. Those are our motto, so to speak. And with those AI cappers, it's kind of funny because, you and I are both on a bunch of different websites. And one of them, I won't mention any names, but one of them demanded that I do videos 3 times a week or they would be, they would kick me off the site. And I said, no problem. I enjoy doing media, not a big deal. And they said, this is universal for every handicapper. But then I'm wondering why half the handicappers on the website aren't doing videos. And then come to find out because they're not real handicap. They're not real people. In fact, it's just a profile picture. Somebody's getting catfished, as they say. So,
right.
Yeah, you got to watch out for that. It's probably better to deal with, a real person, such as the 5 of us at hitthepick.com. By the way, we probably will be adding some handicappers. And I'm sure you agree with me, I don't want to have too many handicappers at our site just because it kind of waters everything down. I was thinking about capping the number maybe at 12, something like that. I don't know what your thoughts about that, but, sometimes too many handicappers is just too much for people to look at. They get confused. Oh, who do I buy? I don't, you know what I mean? So,
well, yeah, and I like the idea that everybody on our site, look, all the other sites, there's some 20-year-old kid in a college dorm room making picks, right?
I mean, he's not even he can't even legally gamble because he's not 21.
No, right. No, and that's that because how do these sites afford the volume of game picks? I mean, they're picking every game under the sun, and somebody's writing an analysis of all that. Well, guess what? They're paying some 20-year-old kid in a dorm room $15 per article, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's slave wages, right? And they want to do it because they're into sports and they want to be us someday. They want to be on a radio show. They want to be on TV. They want to be on Sports Grid Live. They aspire to be us. And everybody's going to start somewhere. That's fine. But the fact is, if you go to one of those larger sites, you have no idea of the quality of the person that's doing the handicapping. Whereas with us, Scott's been in the business forever. Tom is a fantastic handicapper. David Delano is one of the best I've ever seen. You have very strong points and good streaks. And although I don't do everything, my record in football is about 65% over the past 5 seasons.
Yeah.
It's about 56, 57 regular season, but I go about 75, 80% in the playoffs.
There you go.
And so, it balances out, it raises that average. And the fact is, to be honest, I was on with Scott Wetzel a number of years ago, and I would go on his radio show when he used to be on Mad Dog. And I would go on his radio show, and I would bring it with football picks every week, like 5 games, college and NFL. And the fact was, a lot of people would give me crap because I'd go 2-3 one weekend, 3-2 the next, 4-1, 0-5. It would go up and down. And when I had good weeks, nobody said a thing. When I had a bad week, everybody would call in and beat me up. And I remember at the end of one season, somebody called in and he was giving me crap because of the last regular season weekend. I think I went 1-4. And then Scott bit back at the person. He goes, "Do you have any idea how hard this is? How hard it is to do this? You're battling companies that make billions of dollars in Vegas, worldwide, offshore books, and they can't lose or they're out of business. And this guy on his own is coming in here and he's bringing it, and he doesn't BS anybody. He comes in and he tells me the day before on Friday afternoons, these are my picks. And then he comes on Sunday afternoon and he owns it. And you know what? He's 55% on the season. That's winning.
Yeah, it's tough to do for sure. And
it's hard to do. That's why there's the big hotels in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Because people don't win.
Yeah, according to that -110 juice that you have to lay on totals and sides in the NFL and college football for that matter, it's I think the ratio you have to win 53.5% of your bets.
52.3 something.
52.5%. Yeah. In order to be profitable, because you have to what? You have to beat the juice, right? So the juice is really what eats you up, because what happens is, 2-1 is better than 3-2. 3-2 is better than 4-3. 4-3 is better than 5-4. Because if you get to where you're 10-9, you're actually down money at that point. You're actually down a significant amount of money because that.
Which is why I always tell people, bet the games you're sure of. Don't bet the whole freaking board.
Definitely.
If you're going to bet $200 a weekend, pick 2 or 3 games.
Yeah.
Don't spread it all over the place.
Yeah. The problem though is, people start on Thursday night. It's the primetime game, so they have to have some money on it, right? So they put $100 on the Thursday night game, they lose. Then college football happens on Saturday. There's a morning game, there's afternoon games, evening games. So let's say they're 500, right? They split the difference. They go into NFL Sunday, they go crazy, they're down $300. What do you think they're going to do?
They go to the ATM. We've been there. They go to the ATM at 4:30 on Sunday, and they pull out $500 and they lay it on the night game, trying to make it up.
And if they make it up, if they do make it up, what do? They wait for Monday night and they start it all over.
They go roll it into Monday.
So yeah, you got to treat this if you really want to make money at this, you got to treat it like a business. If it's a hobby, if it's something you do, if it's just fun money that you can afford to lose, then that's great. But if you really want to take this seriously or make it a side hustle or actually make money doing it, I mean, you can't be betting every game.
Well, and that's why I tell people. So, and people get mad at me for this, and they say I shouldn't be doing it. I have money that is set aside for my serious sports betting.
Right.
But then I have money that I will use from my kitty, like the money in my wallet, say. Sure. That I'll throw on a Thursday night CFL game because it makes it more interesting, right?
Or some NBA Summer League on a Thursday night.
Just because you want to have a little action on something, but you've got to keep your bankroll separate from anything else that you do. Definitely. Your bankroll for your sports betting, that you are analyzing games. For me, there's 2 or 3 or 4 games a weekend that I am actually going to bet on in any serious way. Now, if there's a game on Thursday night or like Wednesday night Maction, right? A couple of Mac teams you don't know anything about, but hell, it makes the game more interesting if I have a few bucks riding on it. I might put $15 one way or another.
Yeah.
That's nothing to me. It's a rounding error. But when I bet NFL or college on the weekends, I'm putting $100 or more on a single game.
Yeah.
So, if I get above 3 or 4, you're talking a serious amount of money if you lose consistently.
Yeah. Also too, keep in mind that you should never really be betting more than 5% of your bankroll. So if you have $1,000 saved up, you want to use that to bet on sports for the football season or whatever, you shouldn't be betting more than $50 a play, to be honest with you, because it's just going to eat you up. I mean, that's what pros do. I mean, they're dealing with $100,000 bankrolls, $500,000 bankrolls, but they're not betting more than 5% a play. And 5% might be pushing it. It might be more like 2 or 3% per play. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you have $1,000 to bet with for the season, don't go bet $500 on a game week 1. It's just not a good idea.
Bad idea. All right, let's get to some actual sports betting stuff. You got anything else coming up this weekend you want to give out?
Yeah, I got UFC tomorrow. You can go get that at hitthepick.com. I'm on a phenomenal run in the UFC. If you guys want some winners, you can go check that out. And we got CFL, we got MLB, all sorts of stuff over there at the website.
Okay. And then I've been doing my tour through the NFL over-under numbers. I'm in the middle of the AFC North right now. So I am working my way through the AFC North. My best bet in the AFC North is the Browns under 5.5 wins.
Yeah.
Listen to the schedule. Bengals at Browns, loss. Browns at Ravens, loss. Packers at Browns, loss. Browns at Lions, loss. Vikings at Browns, loss. Browns at Steelers, loss. Do you see me wrong in any of those?
Probably not. I know we were doing the Founder Show the other day, and David Delano was saying, don't be surprised if the Bengals lose to the Browns week 1. But I don't think that's going to happen because I think the Bengals they're sick of hearing about the slow starts, and they need
slow. Yeah,
and they need to show up. They need to go, win their first 2 games because every year they get in a hole, 0-2, and then Zach Taylor, he's already on the hot seat, so they got to have a strong start. So I do think they beat Cleveland, and yeah, I'm with you. I think the Browns are going to have a miserable year. They don't even know who they have 4 quarterbacks. They have no idea who's going to start. That just
it's going to be Flacco because here's the problem. I think about it this way. If I'm the Browns, I know Flacco's not the future. I've got 3 guys that I want to look at, and I would basically make the decision. I'm giving 5 games to each guy.
Yeah.
5 games to each guy, and it's going to be an audition, and we'll see what happens. But they're not going to do that. They're going to go with Flacco because here's the problem. If you start with Shedeur, or you start with Dylan Gabriel, or you start with Kenny Pickett, if they don't work out, you have to cut them.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't – you sort of ruin them for the fan base. You know what I mean?
You don't want to destroy the confidence either, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
And so what they're going to do is they're going to march Flacco out there for the first 8 weeks, and then they're going to get to their bye week, and then they're going to go to somebody else. So I think they could be 1-7 or 0-8 by the bye.
Yeah.
And after the bye, they go at Jets. Now, that is going to be the game that Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur, whoever, wins after they're 0-8.
Yeah.
And the fan base will go crazy. Oh, look, we're winning games. And of course, it'll be totally meaningless because it's the Jets. And then, though, after that, it's Ravens at Raiders, 49ers. So they'll lose those 3. They'll get a push, maybe a win when the Titans come to town. But then it's Bears, Bills, at Steelers, at Bengals.
Yeah. What's the over under number for win the season win?
5.5. I don't see more than 3 wins.
Yeah, that's a great bet, honestly.
Yeah, I mean I have one best bet.
1 minute
in every division, and let me just run them down real quick. 49ers over 10.5, Chiefs over 11.5 in the AFC West. NFC East, Giants under 5.5. AFC East, Jets under 5.5. AFC North, Browns under 5.5. You see, I like unders better than overs in season totals.
100% because of injuries. The injury, I mean, if the starting quarterback is gone week 4, out for the season, they're done. They're not going to go over their season win total. So it's under or nothing for me as far as over-under season win totals.
Well, it means I got to hope Brock Purdy and Patrick Mahomes stay healthy.
Yeah, I agree with the Giants, though. Russell Wilson is not that great anymore. And they play in a tough division. I think the Cowboys are going to be a little better than advertised. So you got to deal with Dallas and Washington and Philly. So,
and by the way, I read a story yesterday that Russell Wilson is a locker room problem already.
Yeah.
Everybody apparently hates him.
Yeah, he's not very well liked.
Yeah, he put out some social media thing a couple days ago about how he loves New York and it's great. And here's all my fabulous friends. And it was like Kanye and this guy, and they're hanging out somewhere. And the players apparently just can't stand him.
Yeah. Jackson Dart, I think he's going to be good. We'll see how long.
Yeah, I do. I won all kinds of money on Ole Miss overs last year. Yeah. All right, hitthepick.com. We're gone.
Hey, take it easy, man. Have a good one.
See ya.